Okay, good morning, everybody. So sorry it's a little bit late because it's a little bit windy yesterday night. So I think my connection is broken a little bit, and I just restarted here. And firstly, I want to make sure that I want to mention that again, we have assignment one available, right, since this Monday, and those assignments are very relevant to the knowledge we have talked before. And it's going to be due next week, right? There's due date clearly show there. You just upload the output, right? The console output. That means, for example,
Yeah, Professor. I actually have a question regarding the homework.
no problem. Yeah, go ahead.
Um, Hold on.
Yeah, I can. Do you want me to open the homework right now?
I don't want to deviate from the class too much, but if you have the chance, can we get into the homework for a little bit?
Okay. So just briefly discuss the structure and what my purpose and what my expectation. Okay. So let me open the.
Yeah, because I guess I'm not too sure if I was able to answer the first two questions properly. That's fine. But question, I think,
Yeah.
one with the log function and the number two, which is to generate 100 random numbers. I don't. I took a look at the slides. I don't think there's a command or like it teaches me to generate those numbers. Like, what's the script for it?
Yeah, good point. So I will let you know which part of my lectures were relevant to the problems. Okay.
Okay.
So first one, I think it's just randomly, the knowledge essay questions. I think this should be fine, either from class materials or Google. But although it's not on non-computation, but the first question is still very important. Make sure you understand the concept very clearly, because if you go to further study in this field or get an in-job interview, people either don't understand or expert in this field, well, should both of them probably will ask the similar question, because they're interested, they want to see knowledge in depth, right? So what the knowledge structure, so definitely they would ask those questions like what is the regression, what is the classification, what is supervised, what's unsupervised. So that's kind of very important. So make sure you understand that the concepts clearly. Now the question two is down to earth. Firstly, this basically is the log function, right? As the 10 base, I want to observe what is the power. So that's corresponding to our lab one. I think is that we clearly has that there. Let me show you where it is. I would definitely cannot let you exactly the answer, but I will show you where is too. For example, here. All
Oh,
right.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I was able to do that.
log. Okay, make sure I understand this. And the second one. Okay, so the second one, I want you to generate 100 random numbers sample from normal distribution. Then display first 8 numbers. Then compute how many are positive, negative, zero separately. Okay, let me tell you what the background of my question, why it's useful, and where the homework's relevant to our class materials. So what am I wanted to know here is that, let me get here. All right. So what I'm going to do here is that I want to sample points, right? So that means this is normal distribution, all right, normal distribution. And let's say, I think I specified mu equals 0. Let me see what is the others. And the mean equals 0. Standard deviation is 0.05. So I think, let's assume this is one standard deviation, 0.05. All right, usually we express like this. This is probably 2 standard deviation. All right, this is a negative 1 standard deviation. This is a 2, so it's 0.5. So R will give you a command, R norm, right? The function. We'll review this a little bit, right? R norm. So R norm, what's the mean? What is the standard deviation? All right, so this function. So this function is basically create normal distribution points. All right, so of course, any points on this curve, will be fitting the normal shape, right? For example, let's say I want to generate 1 point from this normal distribution. That means the points can be here, 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 anywhere. All right. So if you use computer to randomly select the 1 points, it could be anywhere. That means when every time you run this program, the points will be different because it could be on the curve anywhere, right? Exactly follow the curve because it's normally distributed. Now, this question basically allows, say, extract, say, 100 points, all right? 100 points. That means probably there is a 30 points here, 70 points here, something like that. And you can imagine that the more points I require to draw, those points will be more likely construct a bell-shaped, all right? The less points you want to draw is less information or meaningful, right? For example, if you just draw 1 point, it doesn't meaningful too much, right? So I just want to get a 100 points here. And okay, so if there's a 100 points, of course, it's randomly. Last class we haven't mentioned that. And the one there could be negative, all right? It could be negative. It could be positive, right? It's definitely random. It could be extremely, right? So what I'm saying that after we draw those points, say you have probably you have now. Probably now you have points 1, 3, negative 0.05, 6, right? Negative 8. You can probably get many of them, right? 100 points. Or of course, every time when you run the program, you get a different points, right? Unless you give a set seed. Last class we have introduced. You specify the randomness, all right? The randomness. So they. Okay, so. You have 100 points. So what I'm going to do is that someone is positive, someone is negative. All right. For example, if you have some data like bank loans, right? Usually the bank loans will be probably the money owed, right, by the people. So some people negative, some people positive. So they can specify this one is default, the other positive is non-default, right? Similar thing. So here is a negative, the other positive. So those are binary relationship. So in that case, I want you to find out find out every negative numbers and find out every positive numbers and find every if there's 0. All right. So that's basically the idea. All right. I hope you can understand right now. Right. Either you're attending here or you're for those students who are not attending here, just see the video. Now let's go back to exactly the question. I want to take this opportunity to review a little bit this questions. I think the last class we mentioned, and which is also relevant to our homework assignments too, right? Sorry, assignments 1, question 2, right? Let's say let's go back to the R. So I think the question relevant to ours will be this one. Yes, I think this one. All right, this one. Firstly, let's talk about how to generate 100 numbers from a specified normal distribution. So this is probably the way you want to do. Firstly, this is one's normal distribution. For this, you basically use the one line. All right. So if you want to do the homework, I just want to tell you the meaning of this. All right. I'm not definitely not type the answer here. So you just follow this. Use the R norm. All right. This is 4 means grab 4 points. And in the homework, I want you to generate 100 points. You'll probably want to replace with 100. And mean, standard deviation, of course, we give you new parameters. You need to use the new ones. All right, we give the new mean is 0, right? Standard deviation is 0.5. So just replace with those numbers here. Now remember here, when you run these points, we'll run this. All right, so of course, it can generate 4 points. All right. And say if I just use this class examples, I don't want to use the homework, right? So if I grab 100 points, they give you 100. Now, the thing is that you want to assign a name because when for example, next step, when you work on those data, you need to have a name. Those data has been stored there. All right. Or you don't have the label or index to mean to them, refer to those numbers, right? So in that case, probably it's better to give a name. All right, so A equals 2, something like that. All right, I hope the A equals that. So in that case, all the numbers has been stored in A, and the next time when you manipulate or do any calculation on those numbers, just refer to the A here. All right, here. Now, So the question is that now sometimes this one is okay, this one, but however, the question is that when every time you run this, the number is different because it's randomly selected. So for example, if you give me a easiness to grade your homework or want to unify the answer for the whole class, I probably want to set a seed. You can pick any number here. So that means every time you run this, the random 100 numbers, will be the same. All right, or it will be changed every time, right? Because it's randomly picking. So this one is to control the randomness. Make sure every time you repeat is sampling, the points will be the same. And yeah, this one is I give the X, right? I show the example, so I think it's useless here. All right, I give the name to that. All right, that's it. So those examples will give you an idea to satisfy the first part of the homework, right? How to generate 100 points, follow them distribution. Now, the next one is the challenge, right? Definitely, I want to give you a challenge, but this is not challenge because we have it covered here. Now, the second question is that I want you to display first 8 numbers. Again, this is still very easy. Remember had just display the first few observation. All right, that by default, it will give you first 5. And if you want to specify any number, you just put the number here, like 10. All right, in this case, you want to specify the first 10 observation. For example, like here, right? They give you first 8, for example, here. All right. Sorry, first 10 observation. All right, that's why I said you need to give the name for the 100 observations here. All right. All right, and this one give you histogram. All right, I think this homework I didn't require you, but I think I basically can do this. Now, you can see that if you grab 100 points, of course, the shape is very like normal distribution, and it should be very similar to the or initial normal distribution. Exactly, the smooth curve shows that. This is not a smooth curve. It's not smooth. All right, this is not smooth. So this is because we only have a discrete 100 points. And of course, we can make, sorry, 1,000, right? I can make it more smooth. Let's say, now, before that, let's talk about what's the meaning. So the meaning is that this is X value. This is X value. And this is for each value, how many counts, how many frequencies this number appear. That means follow the normal distribution with mean equals 10, standard deviation equals 1. And if I grab any 100 points, those 100 points, most of them will be follow the range around 30, right? On and off, right? By surrounding this, because for example, in around 30, like a 29, 32, it's around 200 to 150 counts of them. Right, you remember all of them are summed together, the count should be 1,000 because you grab 1,000 points. So that's so-called distribution. It's very important. All right, and of course you can calculate the percentage. For example, for the 30 here, I think this the highest point is 200. So if you're 200, that we can use 200 divided by, let's write some notes here. You can convert to the frequency table. That means you can use the like here. All right, you can convert 200 divided by 1,000 because there's totally 1,000 points, right? So it's going to be 20%. 20%. So you can label 20%. That's a so-called frequency table usually we talk about, or probability distribution, right? Something like that. All right. So now this is 1,000 points. And you can imagine that the more points I take is more like a normal distribution. And by the way, this normal distribution is a highly precision and constituted in 30 because the parameter is very rare, because the mean is 10, very large, and the standard deviation is only 1. It's very, very small. All right. In the homework, I want to withdraw, draw some points from the mean equals 0, standard deviation is 0.5. Now I'm pretty sure this will be very large spread. The variation will be large. All right, so that's understandable. Okay, so all what I talk about here is not about the coding, it's about a statistical background. Now let's talk about the, we have solved the first question, right? Based on my hint, and how to grab the points and how to display the first, any observation you require. The last one is one I want to single out any positive number, negative number, or any other like 0 separately. Okay, so that's a very, very, very fundamental data manipulation capability. And I think this is relevant to here. To these parts. Let me see. So I guess it will be relevant to here. All right, to here. So this is a logic operation. All right. For example, if you in a class, remember we generate a number, a group of numbers using the stored in the Z in the previous steps in the Z, right? So this one is basically, now remember here, this one, Z larger than 0. And this one is specify the position, the index of any positive number, non-negative number, sorry, non-negative number. Positive number, yeah. And I use the Z again. So basic means that I want to get all the numbers with such attributes in these positions. All right. For example, if there's only one number is positive, then Z larger than 0, this logic operation will specify what position, what the order. And then of course, the order, you tell the original vector Z, you specify the order, and then it will single out corresponding numbers. All right. So this one is simply I replace with the new numbers equal something. All right. And remember last class we also talked about, can you Z don't equals to -10, right? This is the last class we discussed. All right. And let's rerun this again.
Professor, that's how you find the positive numbers.
Correct.
And is there
That's
a
a
reason
lot.
why it's Z instead of X, or that's just how it is?
No,
'Cause
the
you
Z it's a variable name. You can name whatever you want.
Okay, so because you named X R norm.
Yeah, the X is your own name because X, Y, Z, Michael, John, it doesn't matter. It's just the name of your own of this group of data.
Oh, okay. But if I name it X, then to find the positives, I also have to name it X.
Change to X, of course.
Okay, got it. Thank
Or
you.
the computer don't know what is Z, right?
Yep, got it.
Yeah. All right, so I hope everybody understand this, right? And by the way, let me tell you a very good self-learning. Now, when I was, operating software in the 20 years ago, 10, even 15 years ago, began to, do those kind of work. There's no such software R. The R is also self-learned by myself, right? Or similar age group. So in that case, we're always learning. So in the question is that, so how do you self-learn by your own self, right? For example, now what I'm saying that, let me just say, so for example, let me give you an idea if you want to self-learning and for our class, I have no opinion or no bias if you're searching the program on the Google, that's a different thing. When we're coding, we always part of the code is grab from the Google. We're searching, and the searching is a very important technique because you always want to what exactly the task you want to do. Now, for example, say, I basically write, like I said, I randomly search here. All right. So for example, I have no idea about the homework, and let's searching. Here, I write Google. So how to find a positive index R studio? Actually, can Google will know. Now, this is basically AI because Google has a large group of AI in your team, and the team will automatically detect if you give those numbers together, what you're really meaning. They will give you similar words here, right? So next semester, if you continue on the fintech track, so you probably want to learn. I think that's still online, probably. Maybe ask my chair. And we will talk about the natural linguistic processing. We'll truly talk about the AI technology, how to analyze human language, similar to here. We will learn how to Google, identify those words. We'll see how the email, the Gmail, for example, detect the spam and benign emails, using the techniques how to judge, the stock market and using the human language. So similar thing, right? So for example, and typed into that, say how to find the index and the elements in vector in R. This is actually exactly what we want. So geek for geeks, I think this is very good for to give you show knowledge. And there's a many tutorial there. All right, how do you find the index value? Count, like how do you count positive values in R, something like that. I think those are very valuable, right? So you can see the answer, very similar to ours. All right, but this one Google give you a lens. That means they want to count how many are positive numbers. That's it. But we probably only need to use this one. I want to display all the numbers positive, right? Depends on the questions. So, but the general format like this, right? You want to firstly using the logic operation to figure out what the index of those positive or negative numbers, and then grab those numbers from original vectors. That's it. All right. So, okay. So I need to specify the last word. Maybe sorry about that. If you already get this point, so you can basically skip. So some people probably don't understand what's really meaning happens here. Let me see. Right. For example, you're still confusing on this here. Let me explain further. So for example, x equals to let's say C concatenated in R. I use the 1, -2, 6, -4. For example, I have this 4 elements vector, right? So when x larger than 0, that means they will give you true false, right? That is the index. So basically, you're doing this. All right. So this is x is the original vector. All right. So of course, and true, false. All right, something like that. Larger than 0, that means 1, 1, 0, 0. This is index. All right. So that means true corresponding to 1. All right. True corresponding to 6. So if you run this, computer will give you 1, 6. All right. Again, similar thing. So if you use the less than 0, all right, less than 0, it will be changed. All right. So it's going to give you -2, give you -4. All right. So for example, let's try this in the R a little bit. All right, let's write down here. Let's say x. I directly write down here, not in the collection of the script, scripted code collection, because it's so simple. So I can use the equal sign, or you can use the arrow sign here. Concatenate, for example. 1, -2, 4, -6. All right, probably not exactly the same. My memory is really bad, so probably a new one. So now you can get x, right? And definitely when you type x, it will give you exactly what you're here, right? They give you duplicate solution. It definitely is none of it's redundant. Probably the system when you restart R will be changed. All right, and so I try to x larger than 0. Let's use the logic operation. They give you a true, false, right? And let's say if I use the x larger than 0, they will give you 1 and 4. That's exactly what I'm talking about. All right. So now use this idea to focus on the homework, and then I believe you can solve that type of problem, right? So if you have any difficulties, if you after searching the website, and think about a long time, you still cannot figure out, you can write down whatever effort you have input so far, and I would definitely give you partial credits. That depends on how much effort I have been input and how much program or materials have been learned in this process. I think this is a very important thing. All right, and actually, when you're learning this code, you will find out you will learn many more beyond that. All right, when you're learning, so it's like explosive things. All right. All right, so let's begin our today's formal lecture here. All right. So lab 1, let's talk about the lab 2. All right, lab 2 is we want to use the real data. All right, and the last class, I think we have done this, right? I want to repeat it. For last class, we have oh, no problem, no problem. Okay, so anybody have any question on the homework, just let me know. All right, we again, so like in the Blackboard we have discussed, you can look at it on the Wednesday in the school, in the third floor after my class at 12 o'clock, and or you can email me, or we can set an individual Zoom meeting, right, something like that. So you can. So the data we have saved here is a default theme. All right. So if you forgot how do I do these things, you can go to the last class in the video, but those are very straightforward. So we basically set where the files we saved, and I read the data, right? The data.csv data. The DF data is the name I named by myself for my own convenience when I analyze them. The name is used, you can do by your own self. All right, you can name whatever, like a John, Michael, whatever. All right, it's the defined data, str, head, tail. Those are basically to check, what the data looks like, what's the property, something. It is a very important thing, For example, if I want to do research project, I want to analyze a corporate statements. All right, let's give an example. Say if I want to analyze many firms in the firm SEC, I usually go to the 10K. 10K form is the public corporations will store their financial statement there. I download the 10K form, and I want to look into grab all of the, for example, like a turnover ratio, inventories, capital expenditure, cash ratio, the data from there, and I will usually examine what the maximum, what the minimum, what the mean, what the standard deviation, to get some sense about the feeling, because for example, like American data will be very different from Chinese data. Chinese data will be very different from the UK or France data. The company is different environment. Of course, they have different accounting ratio performance. So sometimes it's a good habit to start with. All right, to get some sense what the first several observation looks like. Right now, of course, when the data you also can show here, right? So you don't necessarily do that, and in the last class, we also talk about how to specify each specific elements, right? This one is corresponding to the first row, third column. This one, I want to grab a subset data from row 1 to 5 and a column from 3 to 4. All right. And this one is basically, I want all the first row data, but all the column. So I leave the columns unspecified here because I want all columns data. And okay, so the table, it just simply meant I want to summarize one of the most important column, which is employed. I want to look at the employed, the statistical opportunity. Let's probability. Sorry. So let's run them. All right. Now, so let's examine look at the data right now. So those data here is bank balance, the employment index. Obviously, those are binary, right? And by the way, look at the data type. Integer, like I said, integer is basically mathematical number. Integer and numerical, they are very similar, right? Although numerical usually allow the decimal points, right? 1.5, something like that. And bank balance, right? That's the numerical, the salary numerical, AUM, right? Default is integer, right? So again, so if you want to analyze this data, you need to do some work, because like we probably basically want to judge, default or not based upon your several factors, right? Your income level, your job, your unemployment, salary, to decide if or predict if it can be default on your loans. So 0, 1 cannot be used directly, because 0, 1 here is integer, it's a number. Number 1, number 0, it's useless. Only if the 1 means default, 0 means non-default. Only in this case is meaningful. Right, so that means you just do some work to assign the number 1 and number 0 to really meaning, default or non-default. Then you can use the table to analyze. That's what I'm going to do today. All right, and so this is the now be careful. That's some details, dirty work. Usually when you analyze data. The index, you're probably wondering what is that? Last class we haven't mentioned. The index usually because data from a third party. All right, probably you download from website or data from your client, from your boss, from your company inside data. So usually the data by itself probably have an index. to specify the climate 1, climate 2, climate 3, climate 4. All right. Sometimes it's continuous, but sometimes missing. Probably the climate 4, they are missing. They're missing. So the climate probably goes to climate 5 directly. So this index from 1 to probably the climate number, and this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This column is not belong to original data. This is the row index automatically assigned by the RStudio. Be careful with that. All right. This column is not belongs to the original data frame. This one belongs to. All right. So if you think about this index, maybe a little bit redundant, you can delete this column. Delete that. All right. Okay, so this is original data, and probably this code we want to examine here, right? Table. We want to examine employment. I want to look, where's the employment here? All right. I want to examine how much is employed, how much is unemployed. All right. So I think we have it done before here. All right. It's show here 0, 2944, 7,056. Around 70% is employed, right? Against unemployed on the other side. Now, the next question is that I want to introduce the most important concept about a factor. The factor is a way to convert the mathematical number to the true meaning of different characterization. That means default or non-default, something like that, or female or non-female, right? So let's see. See what happened here. The example I give to you is from this website. You can directly open that and learn by your own self. I just using the extract the most important points and put it here. All right. So for our learning convenience. So again, so firstly, I set a seed. So in that case, every time you run this, the sample points will be the same. All right. You don't need that. If you don't have this, the points will be changed every time you sample. And 155 is not necessary. You can change it whatever. You can change 56, whatever. It's meaningless. So now this one is basically I want to from 1 to 5 to get 10 numbers and replace equals true. Last time we also mentioned that. You can go back to video. That is actually a good method if you have a very, very limited data. For example, I only have 1 to 5 data. I want to create a 10 data sample, a 10 element sample. How can I do this? That's basically I grab a number and put it back. All right. So it is still 5 numbers. All right. I grab the 1 number from the 5 numbers and then put it back. So of course, theoretically speaking, you can grab infinite times because I already put it back. All right, so that's the way. Now remember, if you grab the number, but you never put it back, of course, you only can have 5 times because there are only 5 numbers there. All right, so that's why I say replace equals true. That means when I grab number, take out, and I put it back. So in that case, you can draw many times. All right, so I have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I use the 5 numbers and repeatedly draw and can get 10 of them. So let's do this. All right, so let's say X is going to be 4, 3, 3, 3, 3, 2, 1. So this is basically very randomly. All right, and now remember, I didn't run this, right? Because I didn't select. So that's why, and every time when you run this, I think the number should be different. See here, right? 1, 2, 3, 5, 5, 5, 4. It's different. It's totally random. All right. But if you run this together, that means it'll be fixed. All right. For example, let's run here. Let's firstly reboot the console here because the R always give me duplicate output as a very, it's not good. Let's restarting our session here. Okay. And when I restart, I told you last time, right? It's a Control plus Shift plus F10. All right, give you automatic. So, and let's do this. All right, so you can see X equals 133253423, and I run again. Now remember, you need to select the set seed. All right. I think the X still 1332534. They're the same. Right? When every time you draw the samples, they are the same. So, okay. Now let's do the fact. Now, next step is very important and it's so simple. but you need to understand what I'm doing here. I use the function so-called factor. All right, factor. I want to factorize them and assign to xf. Xf is a new vector. I rename it because remember, because I changed data type from original integer to the factor. So I need to change the name. So that I will not contaminate, make, the messed up with the original data frame. Original data I generate is use the name X. Now I use the XF. All right. Now remember the data I generate 133253423. All right. Now let's run this, see what happens. All right, let's X print out XF. Okay, that's interesting. Look, it's here. Firstly, it will repeat original data. 13325342333. That's okay. That's randomly draw 10 times from the sample 1 to 5. All right. Of course, that's it. The maximum is 5. The minimum is 1, right? Because it draw a number from them. And the levels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means in this case, when you factor them, the computer will automatically assume that because we only have 5 possibility of numbers. So there are going to be 5 levels, 5 factors. All right. See if it is the case. We have see here, we have 1. Yeah, this is the 1 level, only 1. We have 2. Yes, we have a 2, 2. All right, we have a 2 times 2. So definitely there's 2 second level. We have a 3. We have a couple of 3 here. So we have 3. We have a 4. Yes, we have 4. We have a 5. So we have all the possibility of those numbers. So there's a 5 levels. Now let's do this again. I believe we should not have such a good fortune every time. And let's resample. Let's see what we have here in this sample. Now we change 2, 2, 2, 3. Oh yeah, there's a we have all the 5 possibilities, and let's run again. Sorry. So X. Yeah, 2, 3, 5, 1. Yeah, all the levels. So for example, if the data only have 1 or 2. Now, for example, let's say here, like give example, let's say X equals to that's a new. Let's try this one. All right, I name a new data, the new vector. New vector, they have a 4 1s, 2 2, and a 3 4. All right, that's discontinued. Now let's try this. XF equals to vector X. All right. Let's run this. What happens? Now it's interesting. See, this is original data, right? We only have a 3 times 1, 4 times 1, 2 times 2, and a 3 times 4. All right. And so the levels only 1, 2, 4. See, that will be very clear. All right. So that's how the factor function summarize this. Okay. Now, in this case, in this new data sets, XF, the number 1, 2, 4. The number 1 to 4 is not integer anymore. The attributes of them are factors. All right, that means different levels. That means you probably can visualize like a low, medium, high, something like that. All right, and you can see the evidence from here. Right, original X is a numerical type. All right, when you use the factor, it's become factor. All right, and the factor is with 3 levels, 1, 2, 4. All right, and the double quotation. All right, So, okay, that's it. Hopefully you can understand what I'm meaning here. And I think that is the probably most important, the elements that RStudio different from other software. Right now, probably, if you get interview or talk with other people, they probably, okay, you learn RStudio data analysis. Let's talk about the factors, all right? What are the functions? What does it looks like? All right, what is specialty? Something like that. So you probably won't need to answer them. All right, so I give you 1 minute to take a rest a little bit, to review the knowledge I talked about so far. See if any questions, then we can go to the next. All right. Next, we're going to use the knowledge I talked about the factor and analyze our original the financial data here.
Professor, just a quick question. On line 28, that says table def data $ employed. I noticed that when you copy and paste a command, you just run it straight. You don't change any of the value, like the $ just stays that way.
The $sign?
Yeah.
The $sign simply means which volume variable I want. That's it.
Okay, so you just replace it with the variable you want, basically.
No. Okay, perfect. I'll show you. Okay, so what do you mean by $sign? $sign means this one or before $sign is original data frame. Okay, you have, and $sign simply tell the data frame which variable I want. It specify which variables.
Which is employed, right? That's a variable you want. The employed.
Yeah, that's right. That's the $sign.
Okay, I'm following. Okay.
I think it's very self-explained by its own self. So that's why I didn't explain too much. It should be very straightforward. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Since you have been jumped to this, let's talk about this here right now formally. And now let's analyze the data and let's look at the employed. All right, so let's look at the employed here. You want to make sure in that video. Okay, so this is employed, right? This is what I want to analyze, employed. Now remember, in the employed, we only have a 1 0 1 1 1 0. So it's simply, intuitively, we only have two factors, 1 and a 0. That's it. All right. So let's see if we get the result. So in this case, when we mean choose the data, df data is what I named, and I want the variable employment. So I want the $sign to specify the position. Okay, the variable name, and now you probably have a different method to specify which column. You can directly set index because the employed is, I think, the third column, right? Or second column. It's second column. So you basically specify the data and a bracket 2, right? You can get a second column, but it's not recommended because if you have a large data set, like hundreds of variables, how can you know which exactly position it is? All right. So of course, specify the name, probably the easiest way. All right, and I want to factor. Now it's enriched the setting here. Firstly, you need to specify which data you want to factor. Okay, I want to specify the data here, and you need to specify the levels 0, 1. All right, this means the levels the computer will give output. You can make like a 4 or 5, but it's very confusing. So 0, 1 is perfect. Of course, coincidentally, original raw data is also 0, 1. It's not necessarily of ever the case. For example, like if the male and the female, original data is male and a female, you can assign a new factor 0, 1. All right. So it just coincidentally original data is still 0, 1. So the levels 0, 1, I want to give labels. The labels not employed, employed. You can see it's corresponding 0 corresponding not employed and a 1 corresponding to employed. All right. And you need to have all of them. Now remember here, this one is a little bit risky. That means I used original data, all right, to factorize them and I give the new name in the characters. And I didn't change the name, I think. I still give it to original same variable employed. employed. There's some maybe dangerous because, for example, if you manipulate a variable, right? You factorize or whatever you want to clean something, but you get something wrong. However, if you do this step, you basically overlap originally entirely all the variables change. So you better if you have no confidence, you probably establish a new name. That's a new column. I'll show you here. Here, for example, if I employed, I think that's probably the quick process. Let's say one. I think this one will generate a new column. All right, with the operation factorize original one of the original raw columns, right? You get a new one, employing one, all right, or say new, probably better. All right, let's run this. All right, let's go back to original data. See what we have. Now you have employee new, you have a new data here, employee now employee, right? So ensure you will not contaminate, mess up original raw data. All right, here, right, this is here. So however, in this case, since it's so simple, just directly work on original data and change that. All right. And let's summarize a little bit. So again, employed, unemployed. This is the same number, although the name changed, right? Okay, and the default, I want to do the similar thing for the default. All right. From 0, 1 to default, non-default. So you can see this a basic correlation, right? If it is employed, the default will be 9,000. Sorry, non-employment, not default, employed, default. Yeah, so this is a summarization, right? Default is 300, not default is a 9,000. I think this is a pretty very small number percentage, not default. All right. Okay, so, but you know what? If you handle with the real data, it sometimes is more messy than you can imagine. Even for default, either the bank, personal bank loans or corporate, is a lot of things happen. Say, like give example, sometimes the personnel or the company not go default directly. It's kind of like delinquency. All right, for example, you delay the payment, or you payment a partial of them, or you negotiate with the bank and get some suspension. So those are kind of delinquency and probably a signal of their liquidity problem, probably go to bankruptcy or probably so-called a default or soft default. Sometimes, when the company goes to default, they maybe go to negotiation with their creditors, right? For example, can you reduce my coupon payment? Can you extend my payment long time? Or you want to cancel some, debt, or recently there's new ones like debt for equity, convertible debt, right? I want to convert some of my debt from my equity, something like that. So all of them are delinquency. You want to be careful. Sometimes the firm probably less likely to go to default. That's why you can see the default figure is so small. The reason that there's many ways bank or creditors don't want you to default hard lending. They want to find some solutions. All right, so that's the kind of what happens there. Now next one is very important thing. I'm gonna talk about the tidyverse. You firstly need to install the package and the library want to use them. Okay, anybody have a question, give you warnings, you're not confident, just let me know next week. All right, so but our homework will not relevant to this part this time. Okay, next homework probably, but tidyverse, you need to install this. All right. What do you mean by GC for the class? Chat for students to help each other, or oh, I have not set them. I don't know how to set them. Maybe just you can let me know, give me details how to set those things. But I don't care if you can put I can put in a Blackboard a general discussion there. All right, so you can put the comments there or whatever, right, on the Blackboard. That's what all I can say, right? I put the discussion there, and everybody can put a question or comments there, so you can learn each other. All right, but I don't know what's the exactly the group chat, software or app or what kind of functions. Yeah, that post the license, right? So because there's a videos, every time I put the videos on the cloud recording in your tools in the Blackboard, all the videos there. All right, so no problem. Okay, so and let's continue to talk about the Tidyverse. Tidyverse is probably the most powerful packages to handle data manipulation. All right. For example, if you're interviewed with some things that people were asking you, or could use our studio, and which packages you probably use the most for the data manipulation, that definitely is a Tidyverse. All right, one of the examples that we should ask you. Now let's do some work on this. So I think I already installed it successfully, but I'm not sure. Sometimes there's many bugs. Let's run this firstly. All right. Okay, it seems that it's successfully run this, and so you can see the structure here. In the Tidyverse, is a group of packages here. There's many functions involved. There's a ggplot is for plotting, table for generating data frame, tidyr is for manipulating data also. DPIYR data stringer is to grab any words, the forecast. So there's many things we're going to talk about in the future, but you can understand that the tidyverse package is very powerful. There's many functions there. All right. Okay, thank you very much. Yes, any students, if you want to help each other, so you are free to go. All right. Oh, okay, fantastic. So thank you very much. It's doing me a lot of favor, So so tidyverse, right? The library tidyverse. So what I'm going to do here, let's see what kind of powerful functions we have here. First thing is here is this size. All right, double percentage size and the select and the head. So let me firstly run this to see what happens, and then we can discuss with the function here. You can run this. Okay, so what happens here? It's basically from original data frame, I only select employed and defaulted. All right, I only get these two variables, employment and defaulted, and that's it. And the head simply means that I want to get the first 6 observations to look into that. Employed and defaulted, and let's original data look at it. This is employment. This is employed. This is defaulted. All right, sorry, the default I have not changed that. It's my bad. I need to. I have not run this. Yeah, this is defaulted. Yes, not default. All right. Oh, I think there's some typo here. Original defaulted, there is a dot here, right? Now there's no dot. I think there's some typo. So that's why there's a new variable. But actually, I think what I mean too, there should be the same. Overlapping original, but there's a dot, there's no dot. So I think I should, yeah, but never mind, it's fine. Okay, it's fine. So this is basically select these 2 variables. I think this is a very convenient way. We have so many ways so far. We would like to figure out which column you want, right? This is one of the way. If you enter the tidyverse, enter this package environment, all right? So the select is a very convenient function to help you select the variables. And by the way, most important thing is that this gives you a very convenient pathway. You most likely you want to first list out the data you want to work on, and use this special sign and select. Now, when you select it, to directly type the variable name, that's it. You don't need to write the TDRs, like the data frame, $sign, you don't need to specify which data sets, because you already claim here at the beginning, right? The first level is the data you want to work on, the raw data. And then you want to select directly copy the column name here, all right? And then continue, because you want to continue next operation, you want the head, right? You want to figure out first 6 observation. There's nothing here in the bracket. The reason is that the computer know that you want to show the new variables you want, demonstrate the first 6 observation. All right. In our original observation had, you probably need to fill up something in the bracket to let the computer know which data you want to show me. Now here don't need to do though, because we have already using the passenger sign, use the passing sign to level by level operations. All of the operations will work on this data frame, right? So they can see this whole operation is very concise, right? Clear cut, right? Firstly, we select our variables and then we demonstrate a sample of them. That's it. Okay, so actually I give you the Google here, right? For example, when this is the first time, although you probably approximately know, okay, this special signs basically tell us how to operate on a raw data level by step. So in that case, you don't need to specify the data again for each step, right? So this one you can tap the special sign here and tidyverse, and usually the Google will tell you what the functions, right? For example, what does this do in tidyverse, right? To emphasize a sequence of actions rather than the object that the actions are being performed on. All right, so this one represents transmit, point to what's your next step. All right, it does not mean that like $, which variable I want. No, that's not. It just simply means you do following work based on original raw data. That's it. All right, this so-called pipes. All right. And what does the pipe operator do, right? So pipe operator written as here, there has been long-standing feature of the packaging R. This package has been outdated, has been disregarded. You don't need to care about this. It takes the output of one function and pass it into another function as an argument, right? As an argument. Why I say so? Let's say here. Let's go back to R here and let's look at the structure here. Now, firstly, this is raw data. All right, this is raw data. Now, for example, I want to select the variable. Originally, if you don't use the tidyverse, you also can still specify. You basically use the DEF data $, and employ it, right? Employ. You can use the $sign to specify that. So however, if you use the select, if you use the pipe, you don't need to specify this anymore. All right. You don't need to use this because this raw data has been mentioned in the upper level. So that means this argument is saved. You don't need to specify that. All right. Again, same thing. Look here. So the last step, I want to show the first 6 observation of the data I generate. All right. So I didn't specify anything, any argument in the bracket. Why? Because all the objects has been specified in the previous step. All right. So the pipe sign is very powerful in such functions. All right. So I hope so you can understand this. All right. Okay. So now this is probably the most, I think this is probably so far is the most important data manipulation tool we have touched now today. And these two actually very popular even for my own project or anybody else around the world use this very frequently. So it's very important for you to understand the science and get familiar with structures here. All right. And for example, like the second one, you don't need to follow the structure. You can save the space. You don't need to use the separate line here. All right, so I want to generate new data. All right, the new data two, because I don't want to, contaminate original data I generate. Here's the name two, because this function is basically use original data to select a negative index. Like I said, I don't want an index column. You can get rid of this. And select also do very flexibly. So you can select negative. That means I want to get rid of. All right. So you can run this. Let's see what happened. DF data two. Now in this case, you can see you don't have a index anymore. All right. All right. The other thing is a filter. Filter simply means that I only want the data based on this condition. That's so-called a filter. All right. That means I only want to default it. Default means is one of the variable. Remember, it's one of the variable. I only want in the variable, all the results is defaulted. I want to filter out this. All right. And then please display the first 6 observation. All right. That's the filter. So let's write down here. All right. So you can see it show you defaulted, 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 defaulted. All right. So the filter that basically means that I only want the data in the column, defaulted column, those column value equals to defaulted. Then I want to keep them. The double equal sign means that if or not. It's allowed. If a single equal sign, it means give the new value to the variable. If it's double equal, it's a charge, right? If exactly equal to that or not. All right, and then let's go to summarize. All right, so I basically want to, let me write down this number here. Since today I've been teach too much, I want to, for next class. All right, let's give me own observation. This is stop. I need to put a stop. This is 923, right? Yeah, I want to make my notation here. So next class we can start it from here, right? So for example, on the default data two, I want to summarize. I want to summarize what? I want to summarize mean value of the column name bank balance. Let's look at the bank balance. If we have here, yeah, we have a bank balance here. All right. I want to summarize the mean. I want to summarize the medium, right? Annual salary. I want to salary here. All right. And okay, so we usually want a salary on the median because we understand salary is highly skewed. When the data is highly skewed, that means not like a normal distribution. Definitely, usually we want to the median will be more powerful to explain the economic situations. All right, so let's write down here. That it can give to you. All right, when you summarize, give you so mean bank balance $10,000 and the median salary is 400, anyway, so it's a big number, right? Something like that. So this is basically give you the things, the median annual salary. All right, and there's a very interesting observation. Why those defaulted account, their annual salary is such a huge number, very, very, very rich? It's kind of an interesting question. So that means sometimes if you charge people, default or not, the annual salary probably are not a quite good, powerful single indicator to predict that. But this definitely we need a more robust work to research a little bit. But at a first glance, to me, it sounds like this. All right. So summarize mean and the median is powerful function under the package tidyverse. All right. And remember the pipe sign is very powerful because it can save you arguments about the raw data name again and again. You don't need to mention this in the following operations. And this operations is, again, so it's also very useful. All right, so I'm gonna stop here. All right, on the line 49, I'll make my label here. You also can label on your side. So next Friday, I will continue on this. All right, remember the due date next week for the homework, and you can submit to the Blackboard so you can grade them. All right, okay, that's all for today. If you don't have any questions, you can leave the Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
No problem.
Professor,
Yes.
I can just have a quick couple questions about the class formatting, just to get a better understanding.
Yeah.
Just because in the beginning I was under the impression that there's going to be more things posted on the course content to help kind of guide us with the class using our studio and things of that sort. But is like kind of the main way of learning for this class going to be the Zoom meetings? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, let me tell you how the best efficient way is learning. So this class definitely, I think firstly, the first most important thing, I only most likely give you the R code. I run the code to solve the problems because we want to give you the hands-on experience to solve the real problem. And those code is not from come nowhere because there's a book. There's all of them from the free books online, and can be convenient in the syllabus we have right on it. We just basically the whole semester follow that book and definitely enrich my own understanding. Other examples following finance, and this is the good course. All right, and in the Zoom, this is basically self-learning class. It's an online class, right? But however, of course, it's not enough. That's why I set a Zoom meeting, in addition to that. So Zoom meeting basically guides you, any possibilities in the files. I run this for you in front of you, and any questions we can keep in touch on that. Software, I think I posted a couple files in the first module, what is R, how to download them, how to use them. There's something. If you still, have no idea about it, definitely we can talk about separately. But I think basically download them and runs my file. You can give me results and understanding each line's code, and they give you homework, which is similar to those, command or questions I want to solve in the class. I think basically what I'm into in the class.
Okay.
Professor.
Yeah.
I just had a question. Are there any like YouTube videos you'd recommend as far as like getting familiar with R and Python? I downloaded them, but I went on the program and it was like reading like a new language.
Yeah.
I didn't understand it.
Okay, so you still have no idea on the software, right?
You know.
Okay.
I've never done coding before, and when I open it up, it's like a lot of like,
it's easier
like, I don't know like where to begin.
I think the code here is that, the code by itself, right? We want to solve some problem, similar calculator, right? So we basically run line by line in the class. For example, I just select the one line and run this, and they give me results. That's it. So we basically give some command or order to solve compute something and show something. That's basically the idea behind the programming. So that's my understanding. Yeah.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Maybe next week we can for the class maybe take like 10-15 minutes and just like follow along and just do something simple just to kind of get like our hands on with it.
So what do you mean by hands-on? That means in the 10 minutes to introduce
like just
our environment a little bit?
Not really introduce it, but like we all like open it and then just follow along and get the same solution. That way we kind of get a better understanding of doing it.
Okay. That's what I'm saying. Actually, the homework basically covered that, because in the, let's say, go back to the lab 1. All right. So lab 1 is let me open the file lab 1. The lab 1 basically, the lab 1 is actually original textbook. The textbook already have R introduction. You can go to theirs. The lab 1 in their lecture is basically introducing the R functions directly.
Okay.
So it's already been introduction page in the lab 1. And you can see, it's very simple, right? How to use the log functions, how to use the plus sign, how to, specify, the data, something like that. I'm not sure if comfortable, but those are probably the most basic functions in R here, has been summarized all here.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that book I give to you. Let me see the books. Let me show you the books. Okay. The book I gave to you, this one is a PDF book, right? I already give you the website. You can basically download it from there. I like their books. For example, there's a welcome offer. This is their class already been give a very brief introduction to our studio, right? But although through our talk we haven't mentioned that, but if you really want the written information, I think it's a good materials to get because we exactly use this in the class, right? I'm not sure it's enough for you, right? Go through this, right? I think that's perfect, right? If you can follow them. And the first step, the how to set up the R, right? Introduce something. And this is lab 1, exactly what I did in the class. That's the order. All right, maybe next class, if you want, I can take 10 minutes to describe a little bit if you really want to the first 2 introduction chapters there.
And would that sort of walk, like you said, walk us through lab 1 and lab 2?
Yeah, no, the lab 1 and lab 2, that's what exactly I did in the last and this week, basically.
Okay.
But I think you can, I strongly recommend you to go through. You can see they are better than me because in the class I basically run this and they explain in the word. They have write down the meaning in words. I think that's better for you to follow. That's what you want, I believe. That's why if you can follow theirs. I exactly use the same code as theirs, but I think they write down the meaning of them. Do you think it's okay, helpful?
Yeah, this has been very helpful so far.
Yeah, for example, here, note that a function is characterized and the base, given they are enriched with more explanation. Okay, is that good?
Okay.
Yeah.
I got an idea of it.
Yeah, okay, sure. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, any questions?
Thank you, Professor.
No problem. You too, bye.
Oh, Professor, one last question.
Yes, yes.
For the homework, for question 2, when we kind of have to compute, how are we submitting that? Are we gonna?
You basically remember in the R software, and we
Yeah.
basically every time we run results in the console windows, right? Giving the output, it just copy that contains on the Word file.
Oh, so
And
just copy it over to it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, I was wondering if there's anything like we just like alongside the Word document that we submit. Okay, just wanted to make sure we're just copying and pasting it.
Yeah, that's it. And
All right,
submit
thank
the
you.
file. Thank you, no problem. Bye.
Appreciate it. Have a wonderful
No
weekend.
problem. No problem. Okay, so now let's.
Professor, I was
Yeah,
supposed to have a meeting with you.
Sure, let's use a
I-
separate link. Can I use the separate link?
I was gonna do that, but honestly, like you already answered the questions I had.
Oh, okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
If it works, save our time. Yes.
Yeah.
No problem.
So I appreciate that. You have a great weekend, Professor.
No problem. Thank you very much.
All right.
Bye-bye.